It's wild to think about, but 80% of massive business deals are lost not because the price was wrong, and actually not because of a faulty product either, but because of a fundamental failure to connect. Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking a singular, incredibly powerful concept that is completely redefining the way we look at modern sales. Whether you consider yourself a seasoned professional or you're just starting to navigate the kind of complex waters of commerce, the insights we're breaking down today are absolutely essential. We're going to strip away all the noise and look at the absolute core of what actually makes a transaction happen in today's super competitive world.
So, what drives the modern sales landscape? I want you to think about your own experiences for a second. Picture a professional who has done absolutely everything right on paper. You know the type. They have a sophisticated, multi-touch marketing funnel, their pricing is aggressively competitive, and their feature set is objectively best in class. Yet, right at the final hour, the prospect goes totally quiet and the deal falls completely through. So what truly drives things here? Is it that competitive price? The features? The funnel? Take a second and really think about what makes you, personally, sign on the dotted line. Well, if you guessed that it was purely about the data, the product specs, or just having the perfect pitch, the reality of modern commerce might actually surprise you.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The Universal Sales Landscape. Crossing the Industry Aisle.
Traditionally, we treat B2C, business to consumer, and B2B, business to business, as if they're completely separate universes. In B2C, we picture a highly emotional buyer, right? Think about someone buying a sports car. They aren't just buying transportation, they're buying a feeling, a status, a really visceral thrill. On the flip side, we have B2B. The old school mindset tells us that B2B is strictly logical. We picture this rigid committee of executives sitting in a sterile boardroom, driven entirely by ROI calculations, cost-benefit analyses, and bottom-line metrics. But when we really dig into the material, that whole divide just shatters. The underlying psychology of the buyer in both scenarios is practically identical. Why? Because a business doesn't make a purchase, a committee doesn't sign a contract, a human being does. No matter what industry you're in, whether you're selling a pair of running shoes to a marathoner or pitching a $10 million logistics platform to a chief operations officer, the exact same fundamental rule of human nature applies equally across the aisle.
It is more important than ever before to build strong relationships with your customers. And honestly, I can't emphasize this enough. We are living in a landscape totally flooded with endless options, automated drip campaigns, and just suffocating digital noise. Consider this for a moment. The average professional receives well over 100 emails a day, and average cold outreach open rates have plummeted to the low single digits. Buyers are experiencing massive digital fatigue. When everyone has access to the exact same automated tools, a slightly better feature or flashier presentation simply doesn't cut through the static anymore. The one true differentiator left is the relationship. In an era where algorithms can literally write a perfect sales script in 3 seconds, genuine human connection is incredibly rare and therefore incredibly valuable. Strong relationships aren't just a nice bonus to have after the deal closes. They are the absolute universal requirement to even get a seat at the table in today's market.
Moving on to Section 2. The Technical Complexity Myth. The Illusion of Pure Logic.
And this brilliantly illustrates the trap we fall into when dealing with technical products and complex solutions. It's incredibly easy to believe that if your solution is highly advanced, the relationship suddenly takes a back seat to the specifications. You might sell highly technical products or wildly complex enterprise solutions, and when you do, there's a huge temptation to think your buyer is going to make a purely calculated, machine-like decision based solely on your spec sheet. But let's look at a real-world scenario here. Imagine a hardware company that manufactures the fastest, most efficient microprocessors on the market. Objectively, their tech is superior. But they lose a massive, multi-year contract to a competitor whose processors are actually slightly slower. Why? Well, it's because the competitor's sales reps spent months understanding the specific internal stress and the political pressure the buyer's engineering team was facing. They listened, they provided reassurance. We have to visually separate what you sell from how you actually sell it. No matter what you sell, even if it's the most technically dense, complicated software or hardware on the planet, that complexity doesn't erase the human on the other side of the table. In fact, the higher the complexity, the higher the risk for the buyer, and high risk absolutely requires high trust.
So let's resolve this in Section 3. The Ultimate Buying Truth. The Hidden Layer Underneath.
So, the crucial point is right here. Emotional bonds. The critical human connection that must be built with customers regardless of product complexity. This represents a massive paradigm shift away from traditional pitching. But, it's not enough to just say you need to build emotional bonds. We really have to understand the mechanics of how it's actually done. It doesn't mean taking your prospect out to a fancy dinner and hoping they sign the paperwork out of sheer gratitude. In a business setting, building an emotional bond is deeply rooted in active listening. It's about demonstrating a profound, empathetic understanding of their daily friction. It's about a degree of vulnerability too, like admitting when your product isn't a perfect fit for a specific edge case, which ironically skyrockets your credibility. It's about shared values and proving that you're genuinely invested in their personal success, not just their company's bottom line. You really have to shift your focus entirely away from just pitching cold features and start heavily investing in the mechanics of human-to-human trust.
Which leads us to the ultimate rationale behind all of this. Why do emotional bonds actually move millions of dollars? Why do relationships consistently trump technical specs? Because people like to buy from people that they like. Just let that sink in for a second. It is a profoundly simple statement, yet it perfectly encapsulates the psychology of modern commerce. When we look at how the human brain processes risk, and remember, buying is inherently risky, we see that trust acts as a neural override. A buyer is staking their reputation, their budget, and sometimes, literally, their career on your solution. They want to work with someone they connect with, and yes, someone they genuinely like. Let's be honest, absolutely no one wants to go through a grueling, 6-month onboarding and implementation process with a vendor they can't stand, no matter how elegant their software code is. If two products are virtually identical in their capabilities, the emotional bond is the undeniable tiebreaker. Every single time. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a direct challenge. Are you building emotional bonds? Or are you just kind of running through feature checklists and hoping for the best? Think about your most important client right now. If your competitor stole your exact product, matched all your features perfectly, and sold it for $1 less tomorrow, is your relationship with that client strong enough to keep them from walking away? The modern sales landscape is no longer about the best product winning. It is about the most trusted partner winning. Keep that in mind the next time you jump on a call. Thank you so much for joining me today, and go build those essential connections.